In 2022, I thru-hiked the Pacific Crest Trail, but during my thru-hike, we encountered a lot of early season snow in Oregon, so my friends and I decided to take a detour and hike the Oregon Coast Trail while we waited for the snow to melt. We had so much fun along the way and realized that not very many people have hiked the Oregon Coast Trail, so there wasn't too much information about it. At the end of our hike, I decided to make this documentary so that hopefully future hikers of the Oregon Coast Trail can watch it and learn from our experience. I've hiked over 10,000 miles across several states in America, and I have to say, the Oregon Coast Trail was one of my favorite trails I've ever hiked. It's the perfect trail for someone who has limited time, or for someone who wants an easier, more accessible trail that's more like a backpacking vacation than a thru hike. The Oregon Coast Trail had some of my favorite natural environments, small towns, and people on any hike I've done, so I hope you enjoy coming on this journey with me, and maybe you'll be inspired to plan a journey of your own soon.
Okay. What's up? It's Cal
and Lila
and Truman, and we are here on the gorgeous Oregon Coast Trail. Let's do that again.
Okay.
3, 2, 1.
Oregon Coast Trail.
3, 2, 1. Oregon Coast Trail.
So we're starting at the northern terminus, going down to the southern terminus. And while we're hiking, we're going to be going through so many different types of biomes. We're going to be taking ferries to get across some water. We are going to do plenty of beach walking. We'll see some rainforest, sort of like a northern rainforest. We are going to walk through lots of cute beach towns and hopefully eat lots of ice cream.
And that we did. We had our first full day of hiking on July 4th, 2022, and we walked straight into the beautiful town of Seaside, Oregon. Seaside was so cute with a lot of seaside-themed decorations. We walked straight to a local restaurant and got real food, which on a thru hike, you only come by maybe once every 5 to 6 days. We also treated ourselves to some delicious ice cream. And later that day, we walked out of town and into Tillamook Head State Park, where we found this beautiful trail that was lush and green and vibrant. It really did feel like we were traipsing through a jungle or a rainforest or something. It was teeming with beautiful life, and the weather was impeccable. We followed a trail from our campsite for that night to this gorgeous overlook of the Oregon coast. We could not have hoped for a more beautiful sunset or a more beautiful day to start the trip. The next morning, we descended down from the mountains and into Cannon Beach, where of course we started the day with a little bit of ice cream. From there, we walked down to the famous Cannon Beach. It was beautiful. Past Cannon Beach, we came to this little impasse where it was high tide and we had to walk around those rocks. Truman was the hero of the day. He did so good swimming through the water. Everybody else followed after Truman and I made sure the coast was clear. We tried not to get our pants wet. From there, we hiked to Manzanita Beach, where we found a cute campsite to relax for the rest of the day. The following morning, we had another long, beautiful, clear beach walk to get to the jetty fishery, where we would have to catch a boat to the other side. We made some friends along the way. They shuttled the first group across and then went back to pick up the rest of our crew. We had a blast and had the freshest, most delicious oysters I had ever had. They were juicy.
Camera's on you eating this, Mariah.
Here you can see Mariah struggling to fit the whole thing in her mouth.
So good.
They also had fresh crabs, but we weren't in the market for a pet. They are pets, aren't they? After a little field trip, it was back on trail. At this point, it had been a couple hours since we'd had our last ice cream, so we figured it was time to hitch a ride to the Tillamook Creamery, where all the magic happens. We hitched a ride back to the trail and found this spooky tunnel. We followed it to the other side, and that's where we set up camp for the night. The next morning, it was back to the beach.
What's up? It's Cal
And Lila.
and Truman, and we are here on day 4 of the Oregon Coast Trail, the beautiful Oregon Coast Trail. I know we're on a road, but you can see the coast right there. We just left Oceanside and the Tarts. We've had a lot of beach walking, which has been really special, especially for me, being from Southern California, where the beach is like my favorite place, my happy place. But as you can see right now, we're doing a road walk.
From here, we stopped for a snack. We decided to hike further that day, but unfortunately, Cape Lookout State Park was closed. So we called a trail angel, and he drove us to Pacific City. He also hosted us for a snack at his house. This is the view from his porch. What a life. We made ourselves very comfortable at the RV park for the night, being hiker trash. And in the morning, we walked across a bridge to get some breakfast. After a long and boring road walk, it was back on the beach with not a cloud in sight. By this time, we realized it was time for our daily ice cream. So we took a side trail to the village scoop and then jumped back on trail in the local state park. Another lush rainforest to walk through. There were many big leaves and beautiful footbridges. There were also lots of berries. This section of the trail was a bit overgrown, but it was beautiful, and berry hunting helped us pass the time. Lila felt sick, so a trail angel came and drove us to Lincoln City, where we stayed in a hotel. Lincoln City was a blast.
We are on day 6 of the trip, and today's our first official 0 day, which means we're not hiking any miles today.
Yeah, we're here in Lincoln City, Oregon, making pretty good time. We've been, the hiking on this trail so far has been really easy for us. We're not coming off of doing no miles, so it might be a little challenging for people just starting from square one, but the climbs have not been over like 1,000 feet. They've been graded really well. They've been gorgeous, and we haven't even done a climb every single day. Something important to know about this trail is, as you saw in the footage, there's a lot of road walking on some highways that have a pretty small shoulder. So for a couple of the sections, we were walking on them and just realized we felt pretty unsafe with like a lot of blind curves and stuff. Who's a silly boy? Who's a silly Sandy?
No.
Ah! So if you don't already know, the Oregon Coast Trail is pretty much beach, rainforest, or at least forest that looks kind of like rainforest, and road walking, and lots of towns. So we've maybe walked through up to like 2 towns a day. Sometimes there'll be like a little coffee shop in between. So that's been really nice.
As far as camp spots, we have been either, it hasn't been too bad to find spots. We found some right on the beach, some in the forest that are nearby. And then for any of the areas where it's harder to find sort of dispersed camping, there's always been like RV parks and things like that nearby that allow tents to camp there. So that's been really nice. You have access to a lot more resources than you would on a more remote trail, like the PCT or the CDT. So yeah, I mean, there's access to, cell service and showers and washing your hands and all these like really, really sweet things that for us sort of make it feel like a through hiking vacation,
The next morning we packed up and shipped out and started the day with another beautiful beach walk. Our walk took us through a cute little town of Taft on the Oregon coast.
Another day on the Oregon Coast Trail means another road walk. So we're gonna try to hitch this because the shoulder is okay here, but it gets a lot narrower up ahead.
Our ride was the bus, which generously pulled over to pick us up to take us to Depot Bay, the world's smallest harbor. It was the cutest little town known for its whale watching. So we spent the next couple hours learning all about whales. But not before the most important thing, ice cream! And also lunch, where I had clam chowder, even though I'm vegetarian. Can't pass it up on the Oregon coast. Back on trail. Even though the road walking on the Oregon Coast Trail can get tedious, this one was my favorite because it was right along the ocean. We even saw a daring slackliner. This brought us to Devil's Punch Bowl Natural Area, which was my favorite part of the trail yet. We took a rest on the beach, and I actually went swimming. Truman got nervous though and tried to come rescue me, so I decided to get out and dry off with him. We checked our maps, and sure enough, there was a campground right next to the beach, so we head up there for the rest of the night. We played games because we had time to kill. Fun fact, when you backpack with a dog, you have a dishwasher. The next morning, it was back on the beach. Another beautiful feature of the Oregon Coast Trail are all the lighthouses you see along the way. Of course, we stopped for coffee. Then we walked across this bridge for a fun day trip to the local famous brewery, lunch, and spent the rest of the day at the Oregon Coast Aquarium. It was a wonderful little field trip. We saw all sorts of diverse life. Truman was especially interested. In the afternoon, we followed the sand back down to the ocean, and whoa, was it windy! After a few hours of fighting the wind, we were all tuckered out, so we found a campground that had a hot tub and got started early the next morning. We spent one more day on trail, then decided to get off in Yachats and head back to the PCT, but I would be back.
Alright, we made it from Eugene to Florence, which is where we got off last time on the Oregon Coast Trail. It's about 5:30. So we are going to be walking our way out of town to find a place on the ocean that we can camp at. Stay tuned.
As the sun set until we found a nice spot on the beach to set up the tent for the night. The next morning was very misty and visibility was poor. We saw this strange looking log on the beach. Truman was unfazed.
Good morning! It is 9 o'clock on a Tuesday, day 2 on the Oregon Coast Trail, first full day. What's that crunching noise? We are walking right here on the shore. It's a little overcast, as you can see. Of course, we woke up, wow, it's a lot of shells. We woke up and our tent was completely soaked. How did you feel about that?
I felt so good about it, and I have no complaints, and I definitely didn't have a very uncomfortable time. Thank you.
Jack was unfazed and broke down the tent without a meltdown. Congratulations. It is very wet, to be fair. It is very, very wet out here. This morning, very misty. And we are already having such a blast. Truman, of course, is running around like a crazy dog, exploring everything. We saw a big, I believe a seal. It might have kind of been, it looked like a walrus, honestly. It was huge, it didn't have tusks, but we thought it was a log. We got a little too close. Yeah, this morning. So that was our morning coffee. And we're really excited for the sun to peek out in a couple hours and get another beautiful, clear day on the Oregon coast. If you haven't figured it out yet, a large percentage of the Oregon Coast Trail as of now is road walking. All right. Hi.
Hello.
I sound so squeaky. It is such poor visibility right now. We thought the marine layer was gonna burn off and the sun was gonna come back, but it is not. No, and the tide keeps getting higher and higher, and so we've definitely got to make it to a campground tonight. We camped on the beach last night, as you saw, and the ground that we're on, our feet is already wet, and the tide just keeps getting higher. We have to keep running out of the way of it. So definitely checking the tides on the Oregon Coast Trail is a thing. You'll remember from the last time that we were on the Oregon Coast Trail when I was with my family, my tramily, we had to do a little bit of swimming because we didn't check the tide charts, and I come back and I've learned nothing. Look at that. So this will be fun. Yeah. Literally right now.
Oh, don't even try to clean your glasses. They're not gonna get clean.
You're just gonna have to trust that if the ocean is on your right and you are not swimming, you are headed the right direction. Closing thoughts?
That's about it.
All right.
Jellyfish, right before disaster struck.
All right, this is the trail. You can't really see, but when I put my trekking pole in, it went fully submerged, and it goes pretty much all the way back, so we can't really walk that way. That's the ocean. This is a lesson again in checking the tides. It is currently high tide, but what we're realizing is that if it's like chest deep at high tide, it's not actually going to get, I mean, it probably will be low enough to cross, but unfortunately the next low tide is at midnight. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna actually backtrack a couple of miles and we're gonna head up into the dunes, and there's a campground there, and then we're gonna cross tomorrow when it gets better.
We had to backtrack about 2 miles down the beach, and then we headed into this lush green forest where there were endless boardwalks and these magical tree formations. The trail really does provide, because this was a welcome interlude from the beach walking we'd been doing for several days. The trail spit us out at these majestic and dramatic sand dunes. It felt as if we were the only people in the whole world. Well, until...
If you listen, you'll hear a bunch of like motors, and that is the sound of ATVs. We are currently on an ATV road, which on the map I'm using, which is Gaia, looked like a trail. If you are planning on doing the Oregon Coast Trail, the Hiker app, if I haven't mentioned it before, the Hiker app is the only app that actually has a comprehensive track for the Oregon Coast Trail. But as we know, sometimes things on trail don't go completely according to plan. I highly recommend that you have redundancy on this trail until we have all of the data about it. Please download tracks on Gaia as well to sort of, augment and supplement your understanding of your options with the Hiker app in case you have to do a reroute or have a plan B.
We finally made it to a campground and had a very peaceful sleep. The next morning we woke up and walked into town.
And today we're walking into Coos Bay, and on the way we saw a sign for Clausen oysters or something, and it was like fresh seafood, and it looked like a really dingy, ratty sign, so you know it's good. And Jack has never had oysters, have you?
I'm a baby.
Yeah. It looks like they catch them there and then they serve them, so they're extremely fresh.
So you scoop, I know there's some scooping.
It's just a booger. You just suck it.
Okay.
You just slurp out the booger.
That I can do.
Yeah.
That I can do. So
we're excited for that.
It'll be great.
These are fresh raw oysters, and this is a fried oyster po' boy.
So that's what they look like. They look like
Yeah, they look like boogers. I told you.
sure that that's what they look like.
Yeah, so I'm gonna help you out, darling.
What are you supposed to? You're just supposed to.
You just go for it. So why don't you, here, take one, and I'll squirt a little bit of lemon on it for you. Okay.
Do I just like a jelly shot?
Nope. You just slurp it up. You got this. Hey, what do you think? What do you think? What do you?
Weird.
Note. Yeah.
Weird.
Mm-hmm. You like it?
Interesting.
Okay.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
My review is interesting.
Now you're gonna try it again. More cute. Yeah. Almost there. Almost there. You almost got it. Yep. You can pull them out. Pull them out. You're least expecting it. Where's the holster? There they are. Yep. Amazing.
After a long day fueled by oysters, we finally made it to Coos Bay and immediately went to dinner.
Jack is in the grocery store getting a resupply for this last stretch. It's the largest city on the coast in Oregon, I learned. And there is actually a lot to do here. We've been doing pretty big mile days, or like decent mile days, but it's flat, so it's really easy, which is a wonderful feature of the Oregon Coast Trail. Okay, we just got our last resupply, I think. Bars, slim pickings, so we got Cliff Bars, which is kind of the bottom of the barrel. Rice, yay, instant rice for dinner with some seasoning. Oatmeal for breakfast, with some nuts to add in. And some chips. I mean, what more do you need? That's not at all a nutritionally deficient resupply.
The 100 miles from Coos Bay to Brookings was some of the most breathtaking on the entire Oregon coast. I was going through a personal life crisis, so unfortunately I didn't capture as much of its beauty, but we had a beautiful night on our last night on the Oregon coast and watched the moon reflect on the water, and we contemplated the trail behind us.